Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So now we come to the masa of the head. Imam Malik rahmahullah says the entire head masa is necessary. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says most of the head masa is faraz and necessary. Imam Shafi rahmahullah says adna ma yutlaku alayhi al-mas. The least of that which masa can be applied, the word masa can be applied upon it, and that is even if it's a few strands of hair. And now say at least a quarter of the head, the amount of the forehead, a quarter of the head. Right. Imam Malik rahmallah says, "Wamsahu bi ru'usikum." The the ba is zaid, right? The ba is extra there, so it means we must make masa of your whole head. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal used to say same thing, but he says aksari hukmul kul. For most is the law of all. So which means you need to cover the whole head, but once you cover most, then you've done as good as done in the whole head. And Imam Abu Hanifa rahmallah says, "Wamsahu bi ru'usikum," doesn't mean that you must make masa of the whole head. Just like you say, "Idrib zaidan," hit Zaid. So if a person, you commanded him to hit Zaid. If we hit Zaid, if we hit him on 1, 2 portions of his body, then he will be considered as hitting Zaid. So which means it doesn't mean you have to encompass the whole head. And therefore you need an explanation for that. In the hadith is an explanation of Masa Habi Nasiyatihi. He made Masa over his forehead, in other words, the size of his forehead, which is a quarter of the head, right? Imam Abu Hanifa rahmallah says this ayat is not mutlaq, rather it is mujmal. It is it is mujmal and it needs an explanation. You understand? It is just concise and it needs an explanation, and therefore the hadith would explain it, right? Then we come to what is the sunnah. So Imam Shafi rahmallah says that the sunnah is to wash to make masah thrice, and all are am I saying once, right? Imam Shafi say he takes dalil from Hazrat Usman radiallahu anhu's riwayat, where there is mention of 3 times masah, right? And the second is Imam Shafi rahmallah takes dalil also from the wash limbs. So just as you wash the wash limbs you did thrice, so likewise the wiped limbs you also have to do thrice, which is Jamhur's dalil is that all the ahadiths which shows that the limbs were washed thrice and the masah was only made once. Right, let's see. Allama Nawawi rahmallah says that when it comes to masah of the nape, ahnaf, amongst the ahnaf is mustahab. Nawawi rahmallah is no sahih hadith the nape. Right. Then when it comes to gargling the mouth and putting water in the nose, so there's many different ways of doing it. All the ways are permissible, but some are better than the other. So according to the Aimma, which is according to Imam Shafi, the best one is with 1 scoop you do madmada in istinshaq, right? Then the second scoop you do it like it, madmada and istinshaq, and the third scoop you do it like it. And I say each one gets a different scoop, right? And Ahnaf's dalil قال رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مضمض واستنشق من كف واحد فعل ذلك ثلاثا. So that's Ahnaf's dalil. Right, read.
وعن عبد الله بن عباس رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال توضأ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مرة لم يزل على هذا.
Name of Abdullah ibn Abbas said that Nabi Kareem made wuzu one time and did not increase upon this. So the best is to make wuzu three times. And if the water is a bit less, then you can make two times. And if the water is very little, then you can do once also, covering the first.
وعن عبد الله بن زيد رضي الله تعالى عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ مرتين.
Then Abdullah ibn Zayd radiallahu anhu said Nabi Akram made wuzu two times. Right, read.
توضأ بالقائد ثم قال ألا أريكم وضوء رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فتوضأ ثلاثا رواه مسلم.
From Usman radiallahu anhu that he made wuzu at Maqa'id. And he said, shall I not show you the wuzu of Nabi Karim Sallam? So he made wuzu three times. He washed all the limbs three times, right? Maqa'id is a place outside Masjid Nabi, which Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu had put there, so the people could sit there, and then they don't sit and talk in the masjid.
عن عبد الله بن عمرو رضي الله تعالى عنهما قال جاءنا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من مكة إلى المدينة حتى إذا كنا بواد في الطريق تعجل قوم إلى العصر فتوضأوا وهم رجال فانتهينا إليهم وأعقابهم تلوح لم يمس الماء فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ويل للأعقاب من النار أسبغ الوضوء.
Even Abdullah ibn Amr say we returned with Rasulullah from Makkah to Medina until we reached water on the road, and some people hastened at the time of Asr, so they made wuzu whilst they were hastening. Then we reached to them, and their heels were shining. In other words, water did not touch it. So Nabi Karim said, woe to the heels from the fire, make wuzu properly. Right. The ulama, it's unanimous and it's ijma on this that the feet needs to be washed. Right. Only the Shia say that you can wipe the feet. You understand? And they take the kirat wamsahu bi rusikum wa arjulikum. Right? They say wa arjulikum. You can, just as you make masah of the head, you can make masah of the feet. Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, they say that wuzu says wa arjulakum, and faghsilu wujuhakum, and wash your faces and then your feet. And then also there's a hadith which says Hazrat Amr bin Absa radiallahu anhu, he says that ثم يغسل قدميه إلى الكعبين كما أمر الله تعالى. Then he washed his feet till the ankles, just as Allah Ta'ala has commanded. So they're showing that hadith is clearly showing that the ayat is referring to washing, right? The first, the one answer to the ayat where the kirat is in jar, then they say that is because jarre jawar. In other words, because ru'usikum has got a jar, a kasra. Likewise, arjulikum also gets a kasra because of it being close to ru'usikum. And this is common amongst the Arabs. They give the kasra in order to make it, to make the recitation of it easier. And then also we say that the arjulikum kirat is referring to masa on the khuf, right? Masa on the khuf, right?
عن المغيرة بن شعبة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال إن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ ومسح بناصيته وعلى الإمامة
Then from Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah radiallahu anhu said Nabi Akram made wuzu, then he made masa on his forehead and upon the imama and upon the khufain. From the forehead will mean the first coat of the head, right? And now, right. When it comes to masa on the amama, right? Imam Ahmad Hanbal and others says that it is permissible and it will be understood as the faraz masah. However, Imam Ahmad Rahmanullah put some conditions. One is that you wore the amama whilst you had wuzu, and then the other what's the name there is that it also comes below the chin, right? And it must cover the whole head, just like the moza have to cover the whole foot. Imam Malik, Imam Banifa, Imam Shafi'i, they says, Masa al-amama is not permissible, and the faraz is not fulfilled with that. And Jamhur's dalil is, Wamsahu bi ru'usikum, right? And you can't now cancel that ayat with this here, right? And what answer they give to this hadith here is uh, that it's possible that he made the one quarter of the head masa, and then the remainder of the head he made on the amama. Or the other possibility is that he moved the imama, and the person thought he was making masa on the imama, right? Imam Muhammad Rahmatullahi, what he says though is that masa al imama was permissible at the beginning of Islam, and then it was abrogated, right? Reen?
عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يحب التيمم استطاع بفعل كل شعوره ورجله ونحوه.
And from Aisha radiallahu anha, that Nabi Akram used to allow starting from the right, whatever was possible in his matters, all of it, right? Whatever he was able in his matters, all of it, in his cleansing himself, in his combing his hair, in his putting on his shoes, right? Read.
الثاني أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا لبستم فإذا توضأتم فابدأوا بأحياء رواه أحمد وأبو داود.
Right, and from Abu Hurairah said, Nabi Akram says, when you weigh and when you make wuzu, then start with your right side.
عن سعيد بن زيد رضي الله تعالى عنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا وضوء لمن لم يذكر اسم الله عليه رواه الترمذي وابن ماجه رواه أحمد وأبو داود عن أبي هريرة. الثاني عن أبي سعيد الخدري الذي بقوله الصلاة لمن لا يقدر عليه.
Right. Now from Sa'id ibn Zayd, he said, Nabi Akram says, there's no wuzu for the one who doesn't take the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Narrated by Tirmizi, Ibn Majah, and Ahmad, and Abu Dawud is narrated from Abu Huraira, and Darami from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri from his father, and they increase in the beginning of it, La salata liman la wudu ala, and there's no salah also for that person who's got no wuzu. The ulama are unanimous here that to commence the wuzu with Bismillah is mustahab and it's a good action. Imam Ahmad, however, right, he is of the opinion that reading Bismillah at the beginning is faras, right? However, he also says that if somebody forgets to recite it, then the wuzu is done, right? So what is the dalil for Jamhur is the ayat of wuzu, right? That ayat there shows you the four farais of the wuzu. And since it's not mentioned there, so it means it's not for us. Then also they have here the other dalil of Jamhur is the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu and Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. They say that that person who says Bismillah and then makes wuzu, that wuzu will wipe out his sins. And that person who don't say Bismillah, then he has only washed his lumps. So that shows that your wuzu is done, but you're losing the reward, right? Okay, leave it till here.